Hello, this is Frank Norton from Teaching Machines, and today we're going to be looking at using the FuzzBillion with a 303. The FuzzBillion is designed with both guitar and line level inputs and outputs, so you can plug a synth or whatever directly into it. At the moment, it's set to a very vanilla sound, which is not going to do much when I switch it on. Picking up a tiny bit of dirt there from the Germanium transistors. And now I'm going to switch to a couple of different kinds of transistors. This is the first of the silicons. These allow a bit more of the signal through, a bit dirtier. And the 1N4148, dirtier again, a bit louder again. And light-emitting diodes, these are pretty filthy. But we're not running much gain yet. Let's get a bit filthier again. So I'm going to increase the fuzz loop gain, turn down the output. Pretty cool. Back to our straight sound. Much less exciting. And let's just see what happens if I keep going up on the gain. And that's the main gain stage, but there's also a kind of boost before that where I can get a lot filthier again. And let's go back. Let's set this a bit straighter again. And I'll show a couple of other things. So back to our fairly vanilla Germanium. This is actually one of my favorite sounds. And you can get it kind of louder, but without too much clipping by increasing the input gain. Oh yeah, that's pretty cool. And you'll notice it's keeping the low end, which is important on synths and stuff, and a lot of guitar pedals don't do that. Well, this is a synth pedal. Okay, first tone control. This is cutting some bass and boosting the treble a bit. Not that interesting on this synth sound. Position 9 bypasses it entirely, which is good for synths. And let's go for a bit of asymmetric clipping. Now these show you clipping in two different directions. This clips the top half of the waveform, this clips the bottom half of the waveform. And what's fun here is to have different kinds of clipping on both sides, which sounds a bit like this. So that's Germanium clipping up and one of the silicon diodes clipping down. These can get quite interesting. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But this is all fairly standard kind of fuzzy stuff. So I might just bring in a bit of the kind of the octave fuzz. That's getting much nastier now. Possibly getting a bit loud compared to that. Oh, that's interesting. Just messing with the tone there into the octave actually makes quite a big difference. And this control drives the octave more. Perhaps a little extreme. Let's dial it back. So, back to like only just a touch of distortion. And try some of the output clipper. This kind of sits right at the end of the chain. And it adds more hard clipping to everything that goes through it. And this has got a few different settings. It kind of needs maybe a bit more signal than this to start doing something interesting, but anyway. Back-to-back diodes, blue and green, pretty subtle. At a low gain like this, pretty subtle. Back-to-back LEDs. If you could see inside, these would be flashing. Back-to-back silicon of one kind. Back-to-back silicon with some a capacitor in series. Doesn't really matter what that does, it sounds cool though. Quite a warm, kind of fuzzy sound. Different than the gain control, sorry, the tone control earlier. Another capacitor diode combination. Various other diodes, kind of getting more and more extreme as they go, up to 9 when it's germanium, which clip at a very low level, which is why I'm turning the output right up. And just to take some top off the whole thing, if it's all a bit bright, then you can use this final gain control. To make it all a bit darker again. That's quite a cool sound. That compares to direct. I quite like that. Bit of octave. Bit of asymmetric clipping. That's probably pretty bassy. I'm not really hearing it on these headphones. Let's go take that final tone control out completely. Yeah, that's doing quite a lot. The Octave does interesting things on that TD-3 filter. And this is still just in the realms of your standard, well, not particularly standard distortion. And so let's get some of the crazier stuff. So I'm going to bring in the PLL, which is a... oh, we haven't looked at the bias yet. Bias is a little bit difficult to explain. It's kind of easier to hear what it does. It basically shifts the operating voltage of 3 of the op amps up and down, and it kind of tends to sound a bit broken sometimes. but can be quite a useful sound. Oh, I've got it switched off. Yeah, so that's a bit of sort of bias distortion. That's kind of interesting. Can be quite subtle, less subtle with some settings. Give it a bit more gain. You can make it like totally stop working. Oh yeah. You hear it's doing that kind of like percussive broken thing on the peaks. I quite like that. Anyway, let's leave the bias alone for a moment and bring in a bit of the PLL, which can be a bit unpredictable. There we go. Oh, there we go. This can occasionally track the pitch. It actually works better on synths than it does on guitar. And you can obviously cut some of the treble off that. Maybe not that much. Clip it a bit. Yeah, bias doesn't do much. There's a few different PLL modes. They tend to differ in how fast they track and how noisy they are. And how kind of stable they are. Like this is pretty unstable, really. That's very unstable. That's sort of interesting. It works better with a bit of yeah, take some tone off. Yeah. Ooh, ouch, sorry. Potentially useful. Yeah, and these last two modes, 8 and 9 on the PL, are something totally new. It's kind of switching between two different signals in the fuzz at the rate, at the pitch it's detecting. Kind of noisy. Let's go back to something a bit more straightforward. Oh, position 4 on these two brings in a kind of capacitor tone control cut, which is potentially useful because you can combine it with the later tone sections and distortions to do some sort of interesting wave shaping. That's very distorted. Anyway, let's bring in some, let's go back to something a bit more neutral. The first control does a combination of different things. Up to position 4, it's a clean boost. and then 5 to 8 are a missed bias transistor boost, and 9 is the dirtiest of all. So they tend to sound like this. Kind of just getting louder, but not that much dirtier. That's getting a bit dirty though. Not quite like that. And then we get to the kind of more broken guitar pedal kind of sounds. Asymmetric. And then boost to boost. I bet you're getting tired of this acid line now. Let's just do some random settings. That's an interesting one. Oh yeah. The bias does some really unusual stuff. It's with a bit of the octave in. That's filthy. And more. Pretty basic. Positions 5 and 6 in the bias are the most interesting. They're the extremes. It takes a little while for it to settle down when you change it. Oh, position 5 on here is one of these weird capacitor diode combinations. Anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this rather extended exploration into one acid line and a FuzzBillion. Thank you very much.